Thank you so much, everyone. And as always, welcome back to the lift with Sheila Robinson-Kiss. Your auntie Sheila is in the house, and I've got your back. Today, we have a very special guest. If you've been rolling with me for a while, you know this familiar face sitting right next to me. My sister, as in soul sister, as in same DNA, same mother, same father, Dr. Nasiah Ulazi, and I'm going to let her take the floor in just a moment. But before that, just to update you on the fabulous Dr. Yu, she is a board certified behavior analyst, not messing around, and she is also in pursuit constantly, a lifelong lover of education, constantly striving, pursuing. She's pursuing a degree, another one, what is this, like 8 or 9 by this point, in systemic therapy. And that's very exciting because it is the perfect segue for our conversation today. We're going to be taking a deep dive into how can we better manage relationship changes. I think we probably have 60 years of experience between us. As you all know, I am a licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist. So I team up with my sister to teach a course nationally on relationship development. We dive into a lot of projects together, and I'll update you after we're through talking here on what's coming at you this fall. But, Nasiah, I want to, if it's okay with you, talk about this interesting twist and dynamic inside of relationships. I know in my practice, I'm having more and more people, they're reaching out to renegotiate their partnerships, renegotiate their marriages. And what I'm finding and making note of, it's been so interesting over the years to note the conversations people don't have. And sometimes that's out of fear, sometimes that's out of habit. And we touch on everything, renegotiating finances, renegotiating work, renegotiating sex. A lot of folks are reaching out and want to have discussions about consensual non-monogamy. Did I say that? So there's a lot in the mix. And what I want to ask you out of the gate in terms of your work, not just what are you seeing, but what is some of your advice on navigating the changes that we can go through inside of our own evolution in relationships? Because everything changes, everyone changes. And so I'm not the same person I was, last year, let alone 20 years ago. We're going to have a free flow conversation here. Welcome, Dr. Yu. Welcome, Nasiah. Very, very proud of your work, by the way.
Thank you. The sentiment is certainly shared, Sheila. And I'll back up a little bit just because for some of your folks who are watching, it might be the first time they've gained visibility to the work that you do, I do, the work we do together. So I will share professionally, much of my career was spent in the field of education, specifically special ed, before I went into behavior analysis. So I am a board certified behavior analyst, and that work led to me pursuing additional training as a systemic therapist, a relational therapist. So I'm excited because this is a wonderful time in my life because I like education, but I love learning. I love the process. And I have been opened up in my pursuit of knowledge to more that feeds my own life, that I'm able to share with others to liberate
I love
human
that.
beings.
I love that
It's
word,
really
liberation.
liberation, freedom, Sheila, freedom. So again, with that being shared, you asked a very profound question. around navigating change.
Yes.
Navigate, because let me tell you, and you know this, it's inevitable.
Yes.
It is inevitable. When you are born into this physical planet, you are born into change. Things are going to evolve with or without your consent. Life is going to keep moving. And many of us are not trained into a way of thinking that allows us to flow with that. So hopefully this conversation will open people up to a new possibility for change and flowing with it because it's inevitable. With or without you,
But
ready or not,
it,
here it comes.
here comes the change. I love a couple words that, and I want to spotlight those words. Inevitability, you mentioned that. I love that you also highlight opportunity. You know, the
Yeah.
change brings an opportunity. A little bit more about where I had opened up the conversation. You know, just as important as what we don't talk about, it's equally important what we do talk about. I'll give you an example. I had a couple to reach out to me, and this was a woman in her upper years, beautiful lady. She had gone through some medical issues, things of that nature, and disclosed to me, you know, Sheila, I am at this point, you know, I'm physically spent. I thoroughly enjoy my partner, but sex has really become something that I don't look forward to. Now, she had disclosed this information to me. I asked her, you know, had she opened up to her partner? She had not. And this, you know, she had, her feelings had changed over 5 years. Interestingly enough, you know, he came on board, you know, we did some safe space discussions, walking him through the process. And guess what? You know, they had a conversation. They opened up a conversation, something they dare not talk about in their minds. And this man was very relieved. He had some similar feelings going on. So when we talk about the change, that ability, having the courage to communicate is key. And I don't always think we highlight that as much as we should inside of our relationships because everything starts out very idealized. And from what I can see, there's a script that many of us operate off of. And what long since the script has been outdated, we're still operating off that script and not being authentic. So can you speak to that?
I can't. Let me back it up because this is a gem drop. And I want folks to write this one down and reflect on it. Your life is going to be limited to what you don't talk about.
I'm taking notes too.
Your life is going to be limited to what it is you don't talk about. So really begin to look at what you are willing to be in discussion about and where you're stopped. Because wherever you get stopped in talking in your communication, that will be the limit of your life. So it
Mm,
does. Let me tell
mm.
you, you mentioned a safe space. So what I want to invite everybody to take on as it relates to communication, because it won't always be safe, but we can step into courage and bravery. Step why? Because your life is limited to the extent of what you do not talk about. So that freedom, that liberation, a new possibility exists if you can step into that very brave space and open and broach the conversation. So I'll say that. And then in our work, which I want to invite people to take on, that Sheila and I can teach you how to broach those difficult conversations.
Yeah.
And this is what I want to say. As human beings, what do we know? We as human beings make meaning of it all. And throughout the course of a lifetime, that meaning making that we human beings engage in, it creates a lot of rules. So what do I know
Let's
is a
talk
board?
about, I really want to talk about the, and I'm putting it in quote, the rules
Yeah,
and what that does to an individual, what that can do to a partnership, a family system for that matter.
yeah. Well, we're talking about change, specifically relational change. And the way what the world gives most of us is a frozen snapshot of a relationship in time. And we several months ago, I think we did a video and we talked about relational renegotiation.
Yes.
Why? Because most of us, when we think about relationships, specifically romantic relationships, partnerships, is very much idealized and can often be frozen in a very specific space and time. There's rules attached to that. What do I mean by rules? Those things that keep us narrow and focused on a script that we don't deviate from. What are some of the rules that exist in the Western world? And I'm born North America, USA, so I'm speaking specifically to the context in the United States, although it may apply to other places. But in North America, USA, we have some rules around romance. What are they? Only one person catches my eye. So although we know we can dislike many, we can have strong adverse feelings for many. When it comes to romantic love, it's a zero-sum game. Only one, my one and only. So when we organize around the one and only, that's a tall order. The rules that exist within one and only are I am the only special one, do not look at another. You are the only one for me. I need to fulfill all of your needs because I'm the only one. And because I am the only one, I have to look a certain way, talk a certain way, walk a certain way to stay, to keep your gaze as the only one. Now, when you hear me language it like that, you're like, wow, yeah, that's a tall order. And it
When
really
I hear
sounds,
you, when I hear you you're phrasing it this way, what comes to my mind and what I do believe from the bottom of my heart, the disservice we do to ourselves and others when you box someone into that capacity. And I'm going to drop a little gem too, because you and I were working on a series that's going to take people from, we're talking thousands of years ago. We're bringing people up through the evolution of relationships. And one of the earliest contracts, relationship contracts, was discovered in Mesopotamia. And and we're talking thousands of years ago. And this was a contract specific to, property and maintaining boundary lines in that way on spaces of land. I think that we also benefit, we're specifically talking about changes in relationships today, but I think people would find it very interesting if they also understood the origins of how these relational bonds and contracts started. And it's a rich history. Some of it has to do with maintaining civil order. Some of it has to do with maintaining rights and property. So I just wanted to drop that in because the script that so many people are on, I'm not even sure if they fully appreciate the origins of the script. But take it away.
yeah, there is a long history Again, I'm speaking specifically to North America, USA, but there's a long history in the evolution of romance, which, little known fact, romance was not always tied to marriage. That is a very man made creation. And I don't want to give away all of the content. I'm looking forward to people inviting people in to consume that. But marriage, the way we know it today, romantic partnership, has a long learning history. In the United States, that does not always serve us. What do I mean by that? If you look at romantic partnership, which for most people, the terminal product is a marriage, which in the context of North America, USA, it's a 50-50 chance that it's going to end in a divorce. Yet people are in constant pursuit of this very romantic ideal of marriage, which the story of it is magical. But in reality, over a long period of time, what happens with romance? It
Change,
wanes. It absolutely
change.
changes. And what I assert is what we've done is we've pathologized that change. So when people are in specifically long-term partnerships, romantic, when that change comes and they no longer have those feelings that they did early on, it becomes pathologized into, oh, they don't love me anymore. I'm not the one and only.
Beautiful point. Beautiful
Yeah, this
point.
is not, and the
Beautiful
rule
point.
is, the self-imposed rule is we have to get back to where it was. Okay, Jim drop.
I
It's
got
not
my
going
pencil.
back. It's not going back. It is not going back. And when you have that new reality of whatever the relationship is, if we can embrace accepting it, it creates a powerful access to something new.
Let me
Something,
share this.
yeah.
And you're making a beautiful point. I love what you said last year when we were at the start of our series, and you shared with each of the participants. Out of the gate, I want you to know that your partnership is whatever you say it is based on shared values and inside agreement. And so many folks found such freedom in that and how you laid that out. Can you speak to the freedom and revelation of shared values, having a partnership be what you say it is based on agreement? Can you speak to that?
I can. In the first order of business in that, because the shared values defined as what is important and meaningful to you, what you
Hmm.
hold dear, the shared values can only come if two people are willing to look and really take the time to identify what matters most to them. It's not happenstance, it's an intentional process. So, this is what I'll say in that space of really what's important. So, I'll say if you have been in a long term relationship, doesn't even have to be romantic, really look at what value that relationship holds for you. What is it about that relationship that really matters? And I'm inviting everybody to really think about, maybe list the most important relationships in your life and think about what value they bring to you. And in that relationship, get in conversation with others who you're in the relationship with to really begin to see where you share those same values. That is where you will find alignment. And what I assert, if you begin to organize around what's important to both of you rather than, and this is the gem drop, rather than the script. the
I
idea.
love that.
Really get in conversation. This is what's important to me. This is what's important to you. Let's strengthen that. Let us organize around
You
that.
are opening up a powerful tool when you look at the shared values and the commonality. That is a powerful tool to navigate the change. The change is because when you talk, we could sit here for another probably 24 hours and talk about all the changes that will occur over a lifetime. Changes in our bodies. Hello, menopause. Changes, changes in, location of where we live, career changes, financial changes, changes in ideology. What was important for me 5 years ago is not so important now. Changes in desires, changes in ideas on how to raise children. We could go on, but I love this underpinning that you're sharing, the values, that is the constant. That is a constant, and it's a guiding light. It's a guiding light to navigate those changes.
If you can, and again, many of us human beings tend to live life on that script. We live life habitually without taking the time to pause, to really consider what are those things that we hold dear. Because if we do, if we did take that time, what we might find is the upset in our life we can begin to diffuse from,
Yeah.
because we stay organized and we stay aware of what truly is important to us. And again, change is inevitable. Change, and as a woman over 50, I can tell you, whether you want it or not, it's coming. It is coming. I have an adult son, 26-year-old son. I look at the human I brought home from the hospital 26 years ago, to who he has evolved, transformed, how he has changed over the years. If I stayed stuck with the idea of him as my precious little baby, what happens? If that gets overextended and I don't evolve and change, there will be disruptions. Unhealthy
That
disruptions.
unhealthy disruptions, and that is perfectly put, as far as I'm concerned. And these underpinnings that you're bringing up, it's so important. One of the things, and you have an adult child. My Sophie she'll be 13. I mean, the blink of an eye, I can relate with what you're saying. If I was stuck in, oh, my little precious one, and she's always going to be my baby, but part of my job is to foster her independence and to get her ready for this world. And if I was staying stuck in that mold, I'm not respecting the changes that she's going through and facilitating that change. So it brings me to my next point. If
Can
you
I can
can
I
take,
stop you for just a second?
yes,
Because I don't want to miss this moment, Sheila.
yep,
So it's been easier for me to identify those changes in others. Okay, so let's flip it. Let us all make ourselves, let's speak some behavior ease, the unit of analysis. Because there have certainly been times in my life where I haven't honored my own changes. And I
absolutely,
had to stop and say, wait a minute, that served me then. How is it serving me now?
yes.
So it's also a tremendous amount of power in looking at the relationship to self and honoring ourselves as human beings who
It's
transition,
it's
change, and evolve.
huge. It's huge. It's huge, and it's bringing me perfect segue to the next point, which one of my favorite words is intentionality. With great intention, looking at the ways that our evolution, our life, new learning can change us tremendously, new experiences can change us tremendously. Not only having those check ins with ourselves, how important, yet also being very intentional. One of the things that I do, and we both have partners that we share life with, one of the things I do twice a year with great intention, I turn to Andreas and I ask, how are you doing? What are the changes that you're dealing with, that you're going through? Let's check in with what's going on with us, what's going on with you, to take a walk. And to me, if someone say, how would you define partnership? Well, partnership is inviting someone into your life to take a walk. We don't always know where that walk is going to go, but to just walk straight ahead or zigzag, whichever direction you're going, and to never turn to your partner and ask, how are you doing? And this is how I'm doing. I think this word intentionality is very powerful when we're talking about changes, because sometimes the changes can be such that unless you really sit and be intentional about it, boy, I didn't even recognize that change. That's the power of pausing, stopping, and not only being real with it, being honest with it. Can you speak to the power of intentionality?
Power of intentionality for me, and I
Your
just want
audio
to
is dropping a little.
yeah, can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah.
The power of intentionality for me, and I'm just going to invite others to consider what gives me access to intention is acceptance. So, this is what I want to say. Change, as it relates to human beings, can feel and occur uncomfortable. And us as human beings, when things become uncomfortable, the tendency is to avoid it, not look at it. So, my invitation, in order to be intentional around change, is to be willing to accept. Now, I want to make a real powerful distinction here. I said acceptance. I didn't say approval. I didn't say resignation. Accept the change that life is giving you. Why? Because when we accept it, there is an opportunity and an access to be intentional in how we deal with it.
The opportunity that acceptance brings. Nasiah, what is your advice for, someone in our audience? They're listening to this and it is, Dr. I'm picking up everything you're putting down. I hear what you're saying, but my partner, my child, my coworker is going through a change, in quotes, is very hard on me. It is causing me great discomfort. I want to support him or her, but their change is greatly displacing my comfort, my comfort zone, my familiarity. Could you speak to that?
Yeah. And again, this is a human phenomenon. When we change, when others change, it is not easy. My invitation to anyone experiencing a change that occurs as somebody else's change, really sit and take on the willingness to say, what is it about this that's making me uncomfortable? What is it about this that has it occurred is really hard? That is the first step. I think that typically when it comes to change, especially if we see somebody else who's moving differently in the world, the tendency is to name it as this is hard without really being willing to look at it. That willingness to really look and bring some awareness to what is happening here that is occurring as an upset to me. What I assert is if you take that on, that willingness to just become aware of how it's unfolding for you, that is incredible access. And again, this acceptance, intentionality takes a looking at oneself compassionately, with love, with a gentle hand and gentle eyes. We don't want to beat up on ourselves,
Yeah.
but that willingness to look with compassion, to gain awareness, to really what is it that would have whatever change you're experiencing occur as difficult, will create incredible access to be intentional around a way forward.
I love that. Can you speak to, this is how it occurs to me, that there's a great deal of self-induced stress that can come inside of navigating relationship change, and that stress can come about simply because of the reaction, if you will, simply because of, and you opened up with this, what is the story? What am I making this mean? I was just sitting with someone a couple months ago, and this individual, going through a relationship change transition, was making this mean I'm no longer lovable, I'm no longer desirable, and it was creating a wellspring of tension and stress and blocking any meaningful dialogue. Can you speak a little bit about making meaning and exploring what you make it mean? Because if you make it mean, this is this is a frontal threat. I don't want my child to go this far away to college, or this is a frontal threat. My partner has expressed a desire to take on a new career, or we're exploring a different dynamic inside of our relationship. So can you speak to making meaning and keeping oneself centered while navigating change?
Yeah, I can. The exercise really, when it comes to meaning making, and I want everybody to hold on to this word, just taking on that willingness to look. So I think this is Carl Jung who said, how do you best understand another? First, understand the self. First, understand the self. That willingness to explore and just ask the question, which when I started taking that on, what am I making this mean? And really looking at that is when the relationships in my life leveled up. Because our meaning making is often so tied to a learning history. And if we can really get clear, okay, this person has done this. What am I making that mean for
Yes,
them? So if
yes,
you can ask that question and be willing to do the looking, it gives you freedom because the meaning making is typically what is going to drive our behavior. Whatever we make things mean, that is then going to determine how we're going to step forward. And honestly, none of it means anything. None of it means anything
we
until
assign the meaning.
yet we assign the meaning to it.
Yeah.
So if we can really get intentional, look, and I have taken this on. When I feel that sensation, that sensation that says, okay, something's not right, I'm uncomfortable, I'm feeling anxious, and I'm willing to ask what meaning am I making here, and I assign different meaning behaviorally and therapeutically. We call it reframing.
Yeah.
I call it behaviorally, I will say transformation of stimulus function, where I'm not seeing something entirely new, but I'm seeing things newly. Powerful access in that.
It is one of the most, the ability to sit with the self and reframe and ask that question. It is one of the most transformational, we call them dropping nuggets, one of the most transformational nuggets, gold nuggets I've come across in my life and in my work. One of the visuals that I have when we resist change, you can imagine sitting on a train and this train starts to move and there's one of those old fashioned light posts in front of you. You can reach out this train and you are grabbing that light post. Don't leave, train, I like it right here. And what's going to happen is the train is not going to stop moving. You hold on to that light post and you're going to be bounced outside of that train. And to me, the ability and the courage to stay on that train, to explore what is the opportunity, what am I seeing, what environment is this, is there a way to adapt? And maybe I determine, what, when the train stops again, this isn't necessarily, the train for me, but I think anything that we're not sitting with the self and at least getting centered enough to look at the nature of the change. Where do I sit with it? What's happening in my environment? And what I've seen many times over the years, before a discussion or walking oneself through it, or one's child or one's partnership through it, these walls come up and every opportunity is missed. So to wrap up this really beautiful and robust conversation, and thank you so much for joining us, can you say a little bit about the power of having the courage to look at change and navigate it and make the best moves for yourself based on key information that you can't get if you close yourself off?
I can't. This is what I'd like to leave everyone with. Is by no means am I saying that change doesn't occur is difficult,
Yeah.
but I'm inviting everyone, truly am, it's an invitation. I'm inviting you to consider that if you take on that willingness to really sit with, look at yourself, and explore all of those tingly, possibly uncomfortable feelings that accompany change, there's incredible liberation there. Liberation is defined by me to diffuse from some of these thoughts and rules that keep you in bondage. There is so much freedom available if we understand ourselves well enough, be willing to look at ourselves, to explore the meaning we're making of the change.
Perfectly put, perfectly put. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you joining, you coming on the show again and again to share your wisdom. That's why I always keep a pen. Whenever we have Dr. You on, you need to have a pen and piece of paper with you because she's going to drop the gems and the nuggets. Now, I will close by sharing, I'll put the information below in the end cap. We're going to be doing another master course later in the fall for couples who really want to take a wonderful journey of exploration and navigation. That's just a thrilling and exciting class that we teach that together. So you can find more information below. And Dr. Yu, all I can say is the wisdom, every time you come, like I feel like it's you taking us up on a wisdom cloud is where we're at. We're past cloud 9, 10, 11, 12. We're out here floating. Thank you for these golden nuggets. We
Well,
appreciate
can I
you.
do one more
Yeah,
thing? Can I
yeah,
plug my YouTube channel?
yeah, please go.
Awesome. It is Act Soulfully. Act Soulfully, ACT, Soulfully, Soulfully. And it truly is a YouTube channel that is creating access.
Yes.
And I will share with you a link to my website, Act
And
Soulfully
please,
website.
and all the information is going to be in the end cap. And go on now. Not only subscribe to this channel, if you're new, jump on to Nasiah's channel, Act Soulfully. And today you get 2 for 1. So thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate you.
Mhm.